Hey Drew, how's it going?
Hey, it's good. How's Venus Day treating you?
Pretty good. It's good so far. So yeah, I'm so happy to have you as part of Fresh Voices this year, and I'm really looking forward to your talk, especially because you're like one of my electional buddies, and we talk about electional astrology a lot together. But first off, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your practice?
Yeah, thanks, Kirah, and thanks so much for including me in this event. It's really exciting. I've never gotten a chance to talk about electional astrology, and that is one of the main things that I do in my practice. I do electional astrology, and I also read birth charts. Except I don't really see them as separate necessarily, because I will always look at a person's birth chart when I'm deciding an election for them. And I see electional astrology, which is the astrology of starting new things. I see electional astrology as like a way of collaborating with your birth chart and deciding what you do and do not want to emphasize and what you do and do not want to work with at a particular time. So there's a lot of actual conversation that electional astrology involves, that I bring into my practice, where I want to facilitate a conversation between somebody's birth chart and the things that they're trying to do.
That's awesome. And yeah, why don't you elaborate more on your talk?
Yeah, sure. So I'm talking about electional astrology. It's called Electional Astrology Choice Agency Surrender. So just to kind of define electional astrology, like what is that? Electional astrology is the astrology of new ventures. So essentially, as an electional astrologer, I help people select times to do the things that are the most important to them. Um, Electional astrology is a subset of inceptional astrology, which is basically like just looking at the start of something and predicting or gauging how things are going to go based on the astrological moment of that beginning. Um, Inceptional astrology is not necessarily agentive, it's not necessarily intentional. And that's what distinguishes electional astrology from inceptional astrology. Electional astrology is, I want it to go a certain way. And so I'm going to choose a moment and choose an astrological chart so that it does go that way. Um, so one of the things about inceptional astrology also is that the birth chart is a kind of inception. The birth chart is a beginning, and then we are making determinations about how the life is going to go, or the dynamics at play in the life, the psychological things, the events that take place based on that moment of birth. So, what I want to elaborate on in the talk is about thinking about the rules of electional astrology and sort of the technical considerations, and maybe shifting a little bit away from this question of good times and bad times, or auspicious times and inauspicious times, which still is a thing. Like there are just charts that are better for doing certain things. But moving away from that just a little bit and seeing if we can go more in a direction of what is the right time for you in this particular season of your life. You're trying to do this thing and you want it to go a certain way, but maybe there's a roadblock, maybe there's something in your life that is impeding you from getting there, and maybe we can actually identify that impediment in your chart, and we can choose an election that gives you the ability to work with that collaboratively, with sort of an eye to remediation. So that's kind of the cluster of ideas that I'm working with, is how can we think about electional as a kind of remediation where you get to intentionally work with parts of your chart that will facilitate your success.
Wow, that's awesome. I'm super excited about that. Because I love electional astrology, and yeah, I mean, what a great talk to kick off the summit with. You're our first speaker. So really looking forward to it. Is there anything else you want to share about your practice or electional or anything like that?
I think that like at the summit, people can maybe learn a little bit more about me when I have a whole hour to introduce myself. But I think Yeah, I mean, my website is drewlevanti.com. That'll actually forward you to where you can book with me if you want to explore an election. Or I also offer something called process guidance, where if you have some like a more extended project that you're working on and you want to elect multiple things during that process, I'll actually sit down with you. We can talk about what those different steps that you're taking are, and then I can pick a chart so that your entire process is astrologically aligned. And then I offer birth chart consultations as well. So you can check
Awesome.
that out.
Great. I love that. What did you call it? The
Process guidance.
process guidance. I might have to hit you up for that. That's awesome.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Sweet. All right. Well, thank you so much, Drew. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, see ya.